to think that
But that doesn't agree with the
that-
timeline, Mr. T. That doesn't agree with the timeline.
Well, he died in this timeline. Like
Yeah.
it's crazy. It's crazy. And like I said, the timeline only exists because the fans want a timeline. For this type of game, that's which makes sense. We probably should have one, but it's only built out of necessity. They have to do all this kind of rigging to make the timeline make sense.
Well,
Nintendo, they don't think that way. They don't think. I love the way they think. They think, let's put this stuff together. Let's find our gameplay mechanic, and we'll work outward. They don't start with, oh, this is going to be the sequel to that, and then work from there.
That's a good point. They've said that so many times.
It just doesn't. Yeah, it's just not how they think.
I put zero stock into the timeline discussion. I know Mike from he's been on my podcast before. He's all about, like, he knows this is.
Yeah.
Like, none of that means anything to me. It means zero to me. Like,
well,
I
you know
don't
what
care.
though? To be fair, like, I don't think you're wrong in, like, maybe how much we should put stock into the timeline. But to be fair, this will officially be the first console Zelda. They did do a Link Between Worlds. This is the first, like, new console big AAA Zelda. They've made sense creating a timeline, so they might actually be really considering it.
Like I was saying about the Link thing, how he was just a link between. Obviously, now he is a character. He's a person now. So with the timeline being made, maybe they are thinking, oh, let's think deeper, than what we did when we first started with the character.
Do you guys want Nintendo to think about the timeline with Zelda going forward, or do you want them to not care?
I don't mind it. I think it'd be kind of cool. Maybe make a even better story or something. I don't know. Something.
I think it's more of a crutch than anything.
Yeah.
Just
I like the Frankenstein kind of reworking of everything. Makes it fun.
They could always make a new timeline.
No, that gets messy, man.
Yeah, they could do what they did in the X-Men movies. Just wipe out history.
Well, you know how you make that happen, though. You got to have time travel. They did it in Star Trek, and they did it in X-Men.
Well, they've already had time travel.
They've had time travel.
Oh yeah, never mind.
Zelda already. So.
All right, so I'm 100% the opposite of you guys. Like what Andrew Eisen said to me, I think that's going to turn out to be true, and so I'm kind of shocked you guys are so poo-pooing the idea that.
Hey man, I'm salty.
So let me just ask this question.
He went right for it.
They're adamant about no story spoilers, okay? So with that in mind, finding out that, let's say this is the Skyward Sword Link, then wouldn't that basically be spoiling?
It would.
Part of the story.
It would.
Yeah, it would. Go ahead.
So I can't see them letting that out, and maybe his answer was not scripted and he was just off the top of his head. But to me, it just makes no sense. And if this isn't the Skyward Sword Link, then yes, I'm right there. Anuma's just weird and crazy, eccentric type of guy. But to me, I'm 100% sold. Like, this is the Skyward Sword Link, and if it is, he has to be right-handed and he has to be male, obviously. So I'm 100%
like I said,
with
maybe it makes sense. Like, the connections make sense, but I don't know. It just
Juice. If you have no expectations, you won't get your feelings hurt when it doesn't.
Well, it won't hurt
Exactly.
hurt my feelings if this isn't the Skyward Sword Link.
Because that's how it is, That's how we think.
That's true. Everyone's sensitive. Well, the only thing I'll say is that, firstly, I'm not totally poo-pooing the idea. Like, I think it's very possible. And I also really like the idea if it's true. So my only thing, and I think even T, you were kind of saying the same thing, is that I just don't know that all his comments were like confirming it to be true. But I think it is still possible, and I would be very happy if that was the case.
Where is Triforce Johnson when you need him?
Yeah,
who's that?
Nowhere.
Who's Triforce Johnson? I don't know who that is.
Oh, he's like the #1 Nintendo fan. He got the first Wii.
He changed his name to Triforce illegally.
Oh, is he the guy who got the first Wii U?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
he got the one from Reggie in New York, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
And
man,
he's
I'd
like-
love to get a Wii U from Reggie, man.
He could talk
that would be
about Zelda for 5 hours.
For hours.
That does sound familiar. I don't think I ever knew his name, but I remember when the Wii U launched and it showed the guy who got the one from Reggie in New York and stuff. So, but the other thing I want to say real quick is, if this is true, I'm kind of mad at Andrew for blowing the spoiler.
Yeah, and I almost was going to say this could potentially be a spoiler, but it's just a theory. And
man, we live in the internet age.
Game theory.
There's not a lot that's going to be sacred these days. So.
Yeah, it's true.
Because it just to me like was like all lined up, and yeah, it might not be true, but if you're keeping something a secret and someone's like, well, why is he right-handed in this game? The other option is we don't know what the NX controller is, so he can't even. Let's say there was motion controls at this point, they can't even confirm that. So there's too many factors unknown.
Salty's way of thinking is the best way of thinking right now, because if it does come true, I'll be like, whoa, that was awesome.
Yeah.
You guys are already spoiled. I'm like, you know, whatever.
Juice is all in already, 100%.
Yeah, so I even with the motion, the gamepad stuff, like until we see what the NX is and the NX version, none of that. I'm not really gonna have an opinion on it until I see, you know, what the NX is, because this could just be another way of diversion. So
I will say the other thing that I thought was neat about how he made the connection to the theory is the basis for his video, and what he started off with was why, not even regarding Anuma's comments, but just like why would Nintendo feel like they had to make a male Link if they already knew that people were talking about the idea of a female Link? And what he did do is he justified the idea of Link having to be male by making the Link in this new game the same as any previous Link, regardless of it being Skyward Sword. It's a Link we've already seen, therefore it has to be male because all previous ones have been male. That was something I thought was pretty cool that doesn't lead to the Skyward Sword conversation, but it explains a couple things. And even though I'm still one of those people that's totally on board with the idea of a female Link, I feel like you can make Link anyone, and as long as it's not create a character, because that would piss me off. I don't want to create a character. I want Nintendo to make a Link. I don't care who he is. I don't care how tall he is. I don't care his gender. I don't care his race. I don't care anything. Make a Link and just do that. But people get really into that conversation, and people get really heated on it. It should be male. It shouldn't be male. It should be female. Blah blah blah.
Well,
and his connection I thought was pretty smart.
I'd still play the game, but like Red Knight always says, what if Samus? No one's saying Samus needs to be Sam, and no one's saying.
Some great points there.
Yeah, who's the other?
It's true.
Laura Croft should be, you know, Larry Croft. Like, there's no reason to take an established character and change the sex for no reason.
Well, that's the trend. That's the fad.
Well, about saying it's gender pandering. You're pandering to the females because they don't have enough.
Yeah, because I don't want to play Tomb Raider with a dude. Like, that just makes no sense, because it's
you missed that ass.
Yeah, that, and it's an established character. It's like it's not Tomb Raider then.
But he misses that ass. That's the whole thing.
Well, they
Terrell's like, no, but that ass.
That ass.
So that's actually a good point, and I'm really glad actually Red brought that up. That's a crazy good point, and especially as a Samus super fan, I really will agree with that. And that's why ultimately for me, I have always preferred the idea of just a different character being Link, like what Linkle is. I think Linkle's a great idea. But I think that there could be an argument to be made, even though I ultimately agree with what you guys in Red are saying. There could be an argument that with someone like a Lara Croft and a Samus, they're a character that isn't like trying to emulate who the player is, right? That's a little bit different. Like, Lara has always been her own human being with dialogue and thoughts and stuff, and we've never seen Link have dialogue and thoughts in any game. You're supposed to be putting those onto him yourself, which opens up a tiny little door to play with the gender a little bit.
I was going to say that partially Nintendo's fault for the way they thought about Link previously.
Sure.
You know?
I agree with that.
Yeah, but now in this one, think about it, they even say "Wake up, Link." So they say Link in the voice acting part. So
like,
will you be able to change his name like before?
Link is a character now. You know?
Wake up, buttface.
Right, you can't change his name now, right?
You can't change it. You can't change it anymore. It's literally Link. That's the crazy part. They established that.
Yeah, that's crazy.
In Twilight Princess, I changed my name to T, obviously, so I can get the little the mailman to run by and call me Mr. T.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you can do that going forward.
I don't think.
I always name my guys really weird.
I don't think you're naming your Link, you know, in this one, which you know, to me, like, I don't know, like, how's a woman what is she gonna make Link have her name? Like, I never understood that anyway. It should have just been Link.
Yeah.
Like,
wait, what do you mean?
like in the game, because in Twilight Princess, every time you're talking, they just say the name you typed in.
Oh yeah, sure.
It's an obvious male character. So
And they always call you Mister. That was the point I was
Yeah,
making.
and what if a girl played and they made her character Sarah or something?
Hey,
Yeah.
Mr. Sarah, you know.
That's just strange hell to
Man,
me.
worlds are colliding. See, I
It
can't
just-
handle that.
What's up, Mr. Sarah?
Does not compute.
Yeah, I just think that was a mistake. It was always like in the beginning, if you typed in Link, it took you straight to the second.
No, that was if you did
Whatever.
Zelda.
To be honest,
Zelda
I think part of the reason why people are tripping out on the gender conversation so much is that when we've seen Breath of the Wild and all the ridiculous amount of footage we got last week, I don't know, week before, whatever.
Been 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
It's been about 2 weeks. It's you come to realize that Breath of the Wild is a game that really encourages having multiple options. And because this game is so open, you would think, obviously, with all this openness, why are you restricting me with the one thing that hasn't changed? And I think that's part of the reason why people are
That's
hammering
stupid.
on it more. I know, I don't agree with
Look
it.
at
I'm
Witcher.
saying.
Look at
Yeah,
Witcher 3. We got. Oh, you only play as
Geralt.
Geralt. Yeah, I was about to say it wrong.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, you make a good point, and I'm going to sort of kind of go back on the theory I was saying a second ago about how I'd be okay with the female Link. Is at the end of the day, I also still like and ultimately prefer the idea of you create a character and tell us who that character is. Like, and it's why when I play like Mass Effect, I like the default Shepard. He's my guy. And so I think that what they're trying to, like with The Witcher, what's great is it's not a creative character thing. It's not a Skyrim where it's like just random shit that doesn't matter. This is a story they're telling about this character, and you're experiencing it through them.
But you do get to play as the what's her name, the female Witcher.
I don't know.
Theory.
Yeah, right. So you do get to at least have that, where Zelda
Do-
hasn't done that yet.
Well,
Do
yeah.
you pick that at the beginning of the game? I don't remember.
No.
Or do you-
Siri,
No,
you
it's-
play later on.
Yeah, it's later on in the game.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
And
Oh, did I spoil something? Sorry.
Yep.
Well, he-
Well, now I don't have to play it.
I think I traded that in. But yeah, getting back to that, like the biggest complaint about Xenoblade Chronicles X, though, oh, my character doesn't have any personality. Oh, my character doesn't talk. It's not the same as Shulk. I want Shulk back. I heard that not just from Rob. I heard that.
Yeah, because
all
I feel
over.
that way. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot
And
of
it's
people-
like, you know, people. It seems like the majority want just a character that is been created for them, and you know, for certain games I could see creative characters, but for me, like Xenoblade Chronicles X, like I would have, even though I don't like Shulk that much, I still like don't really put any stock into the character I created. I would much rather have like a Link or the guy from The Witcher 3, the cool looking character.
Well, I kind of wouldn't mind having what they kind of did in Wind Waker, where each Link has more of a defined personality. Where, you know, obviously the Link in Wind Waker, you could tell was kind of a lazy kid at the beginning, and he kind of grew into like his role. But the thing is, Link hasn't really, like, his personality doesn't really change. Like, I would like to get like a cocky Link, the one that thinks he's the shit in the beginning of the game. Has to get his ass right.
No, I don't want that.
I mean, like, I'm just saying, like, you got all these different Links, and like none of them really have any differences other than like the Wind Waker one.
Yeah.
And I would rather have that than have a gender swap version for no damn reason.
But I think in Skyward Sword he had.
Yeah,
had a
Skyward.
lot of-
Oh, look at my bad.
I almost wish, like, I wouldn't be upset if they just gave Link a character, like, gave him speech and he said stuff. To me, like, it's always felt weird that he just nods his head and you have really no say. Like, to me, that
That's never bothered me.
that's one of the conventions that I would
I think by the time
hope
we
they
had
would got away from.
I agree. I think by the time we got to Wind Waker was when it started to feel weird. Like with Ocarina and Majora back in the 64, the whole 3D thing was so new. I don't think anyone was thinking about that. But once we got to the third big, 3D open world game, which was the Wind Waker, that was when I think the age of that idea started to kind of come in a little bit. And it's like it feels a little bit dated to not actually know who this Link is, even though. Terrell, I agree with you. That's the Link that is like the most expressive and has the most character and personality. It still was very much like oh, Link, I've decided what you just said, and now we're going to make a decision off of that. Goodbye.
You said
Gets tired
something.
after a while.
We're not going to tell you what it is, but we're going to agree. It's a good plan.
Yeah.
Actually, I think Twilight
agree.
Princess. I think Twilight Princess when it got really awkward because like Twilight Princess is pretty dark for a Zelda game, and just to have Link having going through all these different like emotions and shit, and he's like tripping balls, and he's just not. He's not.
Yeah.
And he's just kind of like making faces the whole damn time.
Nodding. That never bothered me. Like I always felt like Link was a character, but I always liked the fact that I felt like I was Link, playing the game. So that
Like they're talking to you, not Link.
Yeah. But they're talking to Link, obviously, but I am Link. That's how I always felt, So
I know, but it's not like I wanted to be like to me. You could do something like you do with Luigi from the Mario Brothers series with Luigi's Mansion, where it's kind of clearly defined that Luigi's kind of a coward.
You're breaking up a little bit, but
You're a little bit gurgly.
it's gurgly, yeah.
Am I drunk? I might be drunk.
Yeah, it sounds like you're talking through a fan again, but
at least you're not a robot.
Underwater fan.
Okay, I'll keep it short then. Yeah, I think you can do something like you did with Luigi where Luigi's kind of viewed as a coward, but it's not like they show that in his actions. So like stuff like that where it's subtle, but it's not like overbearing. Like, look at him, look what he's afraid of. He's scared. You don't have to do all that.
I think I guess that's like a Nintendo trope. They do that with Luigi and Mario, and obviously they do it with Link. So they kind of do it with all their characters.
Yeah, which is great, and I think that's why a lot of us like Nintendo's games, and like that's part of the charm. And I don't want that to totally go away. But I think it is different with like a Mario where it's never been about story and dialogue and stuff. And like the Zelda games have a pretty deep story a lot of times.
Yeah. I was going to say maybe for Zelda they should change that. That.
I mean, and they tried. There's the whole other M conversation how they tried to do that with Metroid. I think it was a little bit more successful than most people think, but it was still very controversial for a reason, and I get that. So I think that probably also has scared them. So they're probably slowly dipping their toes in the water with this new Zelda.
I feel like if anything, they could just do Link like text, like not fully voice acting. I wouldn't mind him fully voice acted, but give him dialogue, like something.
At least like
text.
Especially when there's cutscenes that imply that he just made a plan or said something.
Yeah.
You don't even know what it is. It's just like, all right, let's go.
We'll have to see with this voice acting in this new game. It might really show us
make it
that
awkward.
it's weird. We'll have to see. But let's get on to the final topic before we get to the questions. Anyone listening, if you're watching us on YouTube, just click, go to Google Plus and check it out, and then there's a Q&A app. Try not to post comments in there, just questions, so I don't have to weed through. Yeah, no statements.
Question mark at
Try
the
to
end
form
of
it
every
into a
sentence,
question.
please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about the potential cartridges coming back. The NX. We've had 2 games now that have mentioned it in the